Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video here we successfully created some of the method, right? So that is our on form submit method, and here we have already checked it, everything is working, and that is our all that name charts, right? So now friend, I want to insert this data. So if you want to insert it, like there is our form submit. So right now we don't need this alert. I want to remove it. So now here first of all we have to input all that our data, that means our input field data. So like I first of all I take one of the variable as a late. Okay, with this late I name this variable as a name. So our name, email, message, so that is all the data I have to pass. So that is a name, I take it, and name will be our, I have already get our all that input field data, right? Here I have already get that input field name data. I pass it in with the set states method in our these states, right? And also I pass the same things as the email and the messages. So whatever the things right now, you will input it in our this all that field as in name field, email field, and the message field. I get pass all the data in our these states. So now I want to do to actually get this states data. So if you want to like there is a name, I want to access it. So that will be as a this and then state, right? So that is these states and then our state name as a name. Okay, and also I want to do the same. There is a late, I take another variable as email. Okay, email, and email will be our this is, and then the state, because I have already passed all that our input field data in our this state. So now I want to access it. So that will be the email, right? So that is the email, and also the same for the message, and then this, and sorry, that will be the this and then state, and then our state name as a message. Okay, so our state name also as a message. If you go, you can see that the email name, email, and the message. So I have already passed that name, I have already passed that email and the message. So I simply take all the things, and I take the things with this variable as a name, email, and the message variable. Okay, which is totally fine. And now I want to add some of the validation. Okay, so if you want to use some of the validation, you can use it. It's better I put some of the condition as if condition. So with this condition, like first of all our message. Okay, so when this message, so this message with this length, so that is a length with this length, that when it will be as a 0. Okay, that means when that will be as a empty, then that will be displayed on the message. Okay, then it will be displayed on the alert. And laterally I will also use some of the toaster in particular that position. So now I want to use that as a alert. So our alert message will be as a please. Okay, please write. Okay, write your message. So this type of one of the message, it will be displayed. And also I want to make our email name field and the email field also will be required. So here if you want to add some of this type of one of the validation, the procedure will be same. After that I make it as a else if, right? So that will be, that will be as a else, and then else if our condition will be same, and then I want to do the things for our name. Okay, so when this name and the length, when this name length will be equal 0, that means when it will be empty, then it will be show another alert, and it will be show another alert as a please write down your name. Okay, so I make it as a please write down your name. So this type of one of the alert, it will be display. Okay, that is a write down your name. So please write down your name, which is great. And else if, I take another else if, and this else if for the email. Okay, that is the email, and email also when it will be as a length will be as a 0, then I want to make it as a please write down your email. Okay, that will be as email. So for education purpose I'm actually using it. So okay, and that is our email. And also if you want to add some of the custom validation, you can also use some of the custom validation. I show you. For doing this we have to do better in our src. Okay, into the src I want to create another new folder, and I just name it as a validation. I name it as a validation. All the validation related everything you can actually set up in here. So there is a validation, and here I want to create another file, and I just name it as a same validation, validation.jsx. okay, validation.jsx. And also here I want to create another class based component. That will be not component, I need only the class with the RCE. So that is our RC. Right now we don't need this. we don't need this. Also here we don't need any extended component. I remove it. Okay, so that is only the class. I name it as a validation. So into the validation, there is also one of the name regex. So with this name regex, we can actually add some of the validation. If you search into the Google with the React as a name, okay, name and then regex. So if you search the, you can see there is a name validation as a regex React. So you will get a lot of the validation regex in particular that position. So right now for education purpose, I want to use some of the validation for our input field. Okay, like I take one of the static value. So that is static, and I just name it. That will be the name and regex. Okay, name regex. I want to declare it for education purpose. I have already write down some of the validation. Okay, so this step up, one of the, if they have any validation, this step up, then automatically it will be get this validation, and then with I export our this value with this validate. Okay, that is a validation. So I show you, then when I will run it, then everything will be more clear to you. So this step on the validation, it will be as A to Z, it will be check it, small character not, if they have any, this type of one of the icon into the name area is not, dot, all that symbol, automatically it will be get that validation. Okay, so now I want to use it, and I name it as a name regex. Okay, so there is regex. So now I want to add this validation in here. Like after that I take another else if. Okay, else and then if, and another else if here I want to use another condition. Okay, I want to put another condition like that will be not. Okay, and into this not, and then our validation here we have to load. That is a validation. Okay, that is a validation. You can see validation comes from src validation and the validation. Now I want to first of all load it. So when you click as a enter, automatically that should be loaded. You can see it's imported the validation from our this validation folder, which is totally fine. So into this validation area, I have already created one of the property. Our property name as a name regex, right? I copy it, so that will be as a name regex. So I want to after that I simply name it. Okay, friend, and then I want to test it. So if you want to test it, that will be as a test. Test. I want to test it for our which field? I want to test it for our like as a name field. Okay, so for the name, I want to use this type of one of the validation. So it will be check it. So now with this I want to test. Okay, so I want to test it. It will be display as a one of the alert right now I want to use as a alert as a invalid. Okay, invalid name. So this type of one of the validation it will be display. Okay, friend. So here I have also added another validation. Also that should be another semicolon. Okay. Perfect. And after that will be our else. So here I'm going to use that as else it will be actually inserted this data. Okay, so first of all it will be check all that validation, and then it will be else. Here I want to insert this data. So here first of all I want to take one of the variable. Okay, with this late I name it as a my form. Okay, my form and then data. And then I want to create another new property. I just name it as a form. Okay, I name it as a form and then data, form data. So that is our form data. So now with our this variable, that is a my form data. So now with this my form data, we have to append all that our data. Okay, so here we have to now append all that our field data, like as a I want to make it as a append. Okay, I make it as append our field name. Our field name as a name, and our name will be, that means our database field name. Before I have already check it in here, right? That is our database field name, and that is our all that value name. So now we have to do that is actually post all the data. So you can see that is actually all the data. So these data now we have to append it. So I have to append it in our database field name. So that is all that our database field name. I'm going to use it as a name. So if you go to also the database here, and you can see that is all that our field name as a name, email, and the message. So now I want to use that as a name. And so that will be that is actually our database field name, and here I want to append our this variable data. So I take it with this variable name as the same name as a name. So I want to append it in here. Okay, I want to append it. So there is a first one, and also there is a another one append. I want to append another one as a email. So that will be as an email, and here our data I have already take it with this, that is our email, right? So now I want to copy it, and then here I want to do and to paste it. Okay, so that will be as an email. And also after this there is another one is a message. So now I want to use that as a message. Message will be our appended data as a message. I copied, that will be as a message. Okay friend, I hope it's very much clear to you, which is totally fine. And after that we have to pass now our Axios post method. Okay, so as I told you before, they have also, if you go to that Axios page, for the post they have also another one, that is our get method. You can see there is a Axios post. So Axios post, there is Axios post, and then the then function, the catch function. Better I copy it. Okay, I copy total things from here, and then now that will be needed. Here I paste it. So that is our Axios post, and right now here we don't need this. I want to clean it. So that is our Axios post, and then function. So right now we don't need this, and then the then, and here I pass that. You can pass it with the console log. Right now we don't need this. Okay, I will actually pass a different way. So here that will be our then function. So that is our then function, and that is our catch function. Okay, so that is a then and then catch. Perfect. Then that is our last one. Great. Okay friends, so now when you use that Axios also, as I told you before, we have to import it, right? So now I want to simply import this Axios. That is import Axios from the Axios. Okay, make that sure you load it. There is Axios, because that will be needed. And now our everything, there is our app URL. So if you now go to our app URL, so into this app URL, now I want to create our new one. So that means here I have already done for the visitor details. Now I want to create new one. So I name as a static. So that will be static, and I just name it as a post content. Okay, or post contact. Okay, post contact, and then the same with this and the base URL with, and that will be as a plus. Okay, plus, and then our URL I have already checked it. Our URL will be as a post content, right? So now I copy it. If you go to our Laravel project, here I have also named it as a post contact. That is a post contact. Okay, so now I'm going to use it. That will be as a slash post contact, because here I have already loaded our base URL as a API, then slash, and then the post contact, right? So that is our total URL that I have already checked, which is totally fine. I hope it's very much clear to you. So I take all that our URL data, that means our API URL, and I take the things with this variable, right? So now I'm going to use it. So I copy it now in our contact, into the contact area. So that is our post, right? So into this post, I want to make it as a clean. So here, first of all, what exactly we have to do? We have to load this app URL, so which I have already done it before. You can see that is app URL. So now I want to load it as from to the SRC API and the app URL. I simply load it. When you press the enter, automatically that should be loaded. You can see import that app URL from our API app URL. Great. So into the app URL here, I have already created our property name, our declare property name as a post contact. So I copy it. So that will be as a post contact. So after that, that will be as a post contact. Right friend, I hope it's very much clear to you. And also here I have already appended all that our data. I take the things with this variable. So now I want to also pass it in here. Okay, I also pass all that our data in here. So now all the data in here, and then okay, so then there is a function, and there is all that our response. So that is all that our response. Into this response area, if you want to pass some of the validation, you can also pass it. Like I put on the condition. Okay, I put on the condition as if condition. So into the if condition here, you can actually do a lot of work. Like here, if you go, you can see status as a 200, right? When it will be as a 200, or when it will be a response as a 1, that means that is successfully done. So I want to put this condition, okay, if into this if condition area, when our this response, okay, when our this response is status. So that is our status. As I told you before, there is actually one of the status. You can see that is actually status as a 200. 200 means it's submitted successfully, and also is passed as a 1 value, right? So I want to then to put these two of this condition when this response status, this status when it should be as equal 200, okay, when it should be as equal 200, and I also added that and or and the response when this response data, when this response data will be as equal 1, right? I have already checked both of this in our here in our Postman, when it will be as status 200, when this pass as a 1, so then that will be actually display as submitted successfully. When it will be a 1, then I want to do, okay, I want to pass here, as a this data will be as a successful, okay. So that means here I pass with the alert, I pass one of the alert. So with this alert I want to pass it as a message sent successfully, okay, message sent successfully. Perfect. So then it should be display this type of one of the successful message, and else it should be display another error as for the alert, okay. I make it as a alert it should be display as a error, okay. So that will be as a error. So into the catch area I pass that as a error, so here I pass it. Rather than you can also, if you want to use that as a if at the else condition, you can also use it another else condition, like I use that as a else, okay. Else it should be pass the alert as the same as the errors alert, okay. So it should be show some of the error alert, which is totally fine, okay, which is totally fine. That will be as an error. So that is our error, and here either into the cache by default that is the error, so I simply pass out this function error in here, okay. That is in our cache position, and that is will be our string value. For the reasons that will be as a into this double quote, here it will be display, okay. So that's all. So that's all you have to do. So if everything okay, now that should be inserted this data. Now if you click as a save all, okay, if you click as a save all, first of all I'm going to check our all that validation message. If you now go to our project, and now I'm going to refresh it. So now first of all I want to check our all that validation, okay. So here I have already added some of the validation, like first of all there is a message, the name, the email. So when that will be as a equal 0, that means when it should be as a empty, then that will be displayed as a please write your message, right? So now click as a send. Yes, you can see it's now perfectly displayed as a please write your message. That means write your message. I want to put some of the message in here, okay. I put some of the message. Now click as a send. Yes, now you can see it's now showing our another validation as a please write down your name. So that is the name. I have already added that another condition as a length. So when it will be a 0 for the name, then that will be displayed as a please write down your name. That means it's perfect get this validation. So I put like as a some of the name, okay. I put that name, I also put that name, so they have the two name, I insert it in here, and after that send. Yeah, that is also perfectly get our another validation for the email. That is email validation. So now that is our email validation. I want to check it, like name it as a new, okay, new, and then I make it as a new at the rate, okay, at the rate gmail.com. Our validation is worked perfectly, and now I put some of the message. So after that, if everything okay, it should be sent. Now click as a send. It's not sent this data, right? Maybe they have some of the issues. If you go there, click as a browse. Here you can see, friend, it's inserted this data successfully, right? Inserted this data successfully, but it's not display any message. I want to check it again. Okay, I want to check it again because I refresh this page, and now I want to use that another one as a test at gmail.com. This is just for test. So if everything okay, it should be display on the message, right? Because I have already when this response status will be as a 0, that means the 200, and then response data will be as equal 1, then that should be displayed as a message sent successfully. Then rather than there is a else, it should be displayed the alert, catch. Everything's look like perfect, okay. Everything's look like perfect. Now check it again. Now click as a send. It's sending this data. It's auto fresh this page, but here if you go, You can see the data is inserted successfully, right? So here our data is inserted successfully, but it's not display any alert message. That means this message is not working. Okay, after then this function actually not working. Is there have any gap? You can see there have some of the gap actually. Maybe that is actually the reason. The then function, so there is a then function, and then function, there is a function, and then there is a response, right? But I want to make it a little bit left position. They have some of the issues in here maybe, rather than it should be work. So there is a then function, if response is equal to equals 200 and the response is day 1, then there is a alert should be display. There is a late and the my form data. With this I append this name, email, and then message, and that is here. There is a app URL, post app URL, also input. Okay, I also input that app URL. That means it's also perfect. And the post control, and then the my form data, that is also work perfectly. Then function status, everything is look like perfect. Everything is look like perfect. This alert, the event, prevent, you can see there's a spelling mistake, so that will be as a prevent. You can see what exactly I have done. That will be as a prevent, prevent, right? So that will be as a prevent default. Okay, and there is a prevent default. So maybe that is actually the reason. Okay, maybe that is actually the reason. I want to do and to check it again. Click as a save all. Okay, I click as a save all, and now I want to do and to refresh it again. I refresh it again and then make it as empty. There is perfectly get this validation, and now I send it again. There is another one as a please write down your name. You can see. So now I make it as another one as a new one. So that will be as a 1@gmail.com. So this type of the message as a 111. Okay. So now let's check this out. If you click as a send, perfect. You can see this very small mistake. So here actually I put some of the spelling mistake. That will be as an event and the prevent default. So that will be actually protected your page. So without loading, okay. So without loading that page, everything will be executed. So that is a prevent default. You can see everything great. So without loading that page, now it successfully sent this data as a message send successful. So now if you go to here, now click as a browse, perfect. You can see it's perfectly get our insert this data in our this database table. And also I want to check our another validation. Like here, if you also you have to actually reset it. Okay, when this form will be submitted, then after that will be actually reset. Okay, you can see there is also in here, so that should be as a reset. So I will also do that work. Now I want to then to check out our another validation. Our this validation is working or not. I want to check it like as invalid username. Okay, so I have already used one of the name regex, so I want to check it. Like I put on the name as a @ okay, this type of one of the name, and then I name one of the email as a ak@gmail.com, and then put some of the message. Now click as a send. Perfect. You can see it's also perfectly get our validation as an invalid name. So here name you are not able to pass this type of one of the character. Okay, perfect. So here there is two issues. One, when you send this, then I want to then to make it some of the loading in here. There is a loading animation like as a sending this type of one of the message. It should be changed. Okay, and when it should be as a successfully submit, and after that successful submit this, all the data should be reset. Okay, so better I want to continue this process, how we can do that work in our next video. I will show you that things with a live example. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.